Good morning, everyone, and we are the Sunday Show. Today, my name is Artem, and I'm joined by my magnificent co host, Serge.
Hello, Artem. Thank you for having me today. Hello to all our fantastic listeners. I'm super excited to start our today's episode. How do you feel about it, Artem?
I feel really excited to discuss it, and just for our listeners, the episode is about artificial general intelligence. Now, I think it would be useful for us to kick it up with terminology and definitions. So, Serge, how do you see and how do you interpret artificial general intelligence?
Yes, thank you, Artem, for your question. It's a very good decision to start from defining what we are actually planning to talk about, because our previous episode was also related to artificial intelligence, AI in general, its different use cases, and our listeners may decide to ask what are we doing? Are we decided to focus our Sunday show on artificial intelligence and everything else? All our episodes will be related to this topic again and again. Uh,
Yes,
I should convince everyone that it's not going to be the case because topics actually are quite different. Um, and
except
there
for
is
two AI ones.
uh, can you repeat, please?
Except for the two AI ones.
Yes, absolutely. Uh, yeah, I should finally answer your question. When it comes to AGI, or so-called artificial general intelligence, there is a very serious difference between AI as we see it right now everywhere, with its dozens of different services, because artificial general intelligence is, let's say, more advanced version of mm, any AI, uh, which more precisely repeats cognitive abilities of biological mind, let's say. And when we talk about statistical systems, which are LLMs, large language models, and we talk about AGI, difference uh, between them means that AGI can actually understand things and can actually interact uh, mentally with different concepts, objects, exactly like we do, like alive creatures. Meanwhile, LLMs, they cannot do this. Uh, what do you think about my definition, Artem, and how would you explain term artificial general intelligence?
I think we're pretty much aligned on the definition. The only addition that I would maybe drop is that artificial general intelligence, apart from being able to reason like a human, is also, at least in theory, should be also be able to comprehend abstract ideas and should be able to learn abstract ideas as well as generate new information. So it has to be not just recycling of all of the previous information that has been stored up in the model so far, but also the synthesis or a creation of something absolutely new. For example, I don't know if you've seen, most likely you have seen the movie I Robot,
Yeah.
and there was a quote saying something like, "Can a machine write a symphony?" And well, the response is, "Can you?" And for example, for me, it's definitely no, but in broader sense, the goal of artificial general intelligence is to be able to create something new, some new ideas, be it philosophical ideas, art, or just unknown problems that are being created and solved by the artificial general intelligence. So yeah, I think on that part we're pretty much on the same page.
Yeah, I totally agree with your comments, and I really liked your reference to that fantastic movie. Fantastic in in both senses. Probably. Uh, Probably for many people, answer would be no, I cannot write a symphony. Meanwhile, many already existing AI models can sort of execute such tasks. But when it comes to such systems, which we call AGI, um, I think we should clarify for our listeners, is it actually an abstract concept, or this technology, uh, to some extent, already exists? What can we uh, say about it?
That's a good question. I don't think it exists, although I think there may be some people who believe that large language models at this current stage are AGIs, but personally, I don't think so, because according to all definitions, they still don't fit the criteria. And at the same point, to the same point, I would rather say, we need to also take a deeper look at the current products and the current plans for the products in order to discuss the AGIs in general. But what is your opinion on that fact? Do you think AGIs are already among us?
Yeah, thank you for a question. First of all, I would like to comment on your statement that many people, when interacting with existing LLMs, already consider them artificial general intelligence. It's quite funny because many people, such people, they unintentionally confuse very different technologies. Like, as we mentioned before, LLMs are just statistical models which predict what words should be collected together into a text in order to produce some thoughtful uh, essay or any other type of writing.
Or
And
an idea that would be finished, yeah.
yeah, exactly.
And
And
I want to interject here and ask you
sure,
about what if we go to any ChatGPT, Claude right now, and ask it to write a music piece for us? Let's say
you,
something,
you,
a
you
DJ
want
part. It will
you
do
want
it.
to make an experiment today.
Not really. Well, we all know that it will generate some sort of a idea and music in that case. But how do you think that would happen? Is it because it possesses artificial general intelligence, or due to some other systems built into it?
First of all, I totally support you with the idea of conducting such experiment. It's definitely an interesting interactive element added to our today's episode. But to answer your question, I would say that definitely any piece of music or any piece of poetry created by existing LLMs, any system based primarily on other pieces of music which that system processed before, or if we use professional terminology, by which on which that system was trained. So definitely Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini uh, will not become something, uh, any sort of AGI by producing a piece of music. If you know what I'm talking about.
Of course, yeah. So just to sum up, it basically does the same thing as with the sentence structure. It tries to predict the next word in a sentence, and in a similar manner, it tries to predict the next sound that should be there based on the data that was used. So, for example, if you give it 100 symphonies, it will try to get the rated outcome of every one of them, and will try to guess the correct note for the next one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As we discussed in our previous episode, very important feature of such models is so-called pattern recognition. So they train to see such patterns, and when they are given a task to create certain artificial masterpiece, they will do just that. They will uh, go go to the pieces of music they have in their disposal, and based on them, they will sort of recreate something, or something unique, something new. Uh, that's a great thing. I must mention that I don't want to laugh or say that those technologies are stupid or useless uh, or not cool. In my opinion, those things are fantastic, and actually, people in many cases they do absolutely the same thing when trying to reproduce some existing technologies, pieces of art, uh, I don't know, plans of for more work management. Uh, but when it comes to real creativity, real comprehension, and real interaction with the world, it's definitely another level. So, what about first question? What about piece of music? And what about moving forward to discussing existing projects in field of AGI?
Totally agree with you. I think we can definitely try to discuss the existing ones. So let me take over that for a sec. And I think the first ideas that we can discuss in terms of creation of AGI would be the plans and, let's say, projects that are created by Meta and by Google. What you think?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea because they are pioneers. They are definitely pioneers in this field, and they are already market leaders in field of existing large language models. And maybe Meta is not that prominent in field of AI, but in fact,
It
they
tried.
uh, what do you say?
It tried. Meta tried
Yes,
very hard.
they attempted to take their piece of cake, but I don't think that many people are familiar with their projects in this field. But despite their apparent failure in current race for mass market AI projects, Meta, with their project called FAIR, is one of pioneers in field of artificial general intelligence. Artyom, have you heard of their FAIR project?
I have read something about it, so if you can tell a bit more about it, I'd be stoked.
Fantastic. So their project in the field of artificial general intelligence is executed by their chief AI scientist, Yan Li Kun. And what is their idea? They believe, Li Kun promotes the idea that shift towards the AGI cannot be achieved through large language models alone and requires predictive world models. And in the framework of this project, this is exactly what Meta is trying to do. Artyom, have you heard of so-called predictive world models?
Yeah, that one I have heard of. And just for our listeners, so that they have a bit better context when we go into depth of discussing it, uh, large world models basically have to reason and I would say maybe simulate the physical world at the 3D output. So the way that people see it. So they wouldn't just take one single injection of a prompt from the text or from the sound, but they would try to comprehend massive uh, data from all sensory uh, sensations that we can have. For example, if it can predict something that will happen based on what it sees, what it hears, and what it reads on top of everything.
Exactly. This is you described exactly the concept which we should move forward to. The idea actually behind so-called predictive world systems is very simple. What the most prominent scientists in the field of AI are saying? They are saying that people look how our children learn to interact with the world. They don't learn words, they don't read books, they don't learn how to work with texts. What they do is they uh, learn how to move, learn how to take something into their hands. They look on different things, they smell them, they touch them, and by collecting this type of experience, uh, children are making conclusions about surrounding world, that uh, fire is hot, ice is cold, uh, teddy bear is soft, or wood is solid most of the time. And
Most of the time.
most like wood can be different. There are different sorts of wood, right? Um, and if wood, for example, absorbed a lot of moisture, it can be soft as well, for
Yeah, but
example.
it's still gonna be solid. Yeah, but that's actually a good thing that we stopped here. You know why? Try to imagine how it's being explained to the AI model that tries to perceive the information.
This is the biggest challenge, actually. The most talented scientists and the most financed scientific labs are now dealing with those challenges on how to move such models uh, the same path our children go when they learn how to deal with this world. It's not a simple task, and this is artificial general intelligence. So far, this is abstract concept, but the projects of developing it are now strictly experimental. There are actually more projects like this. Do you think should we discuss them as well?
Yeah, definitely.
I would say that our two projects which deserve our attention are called World Labs and Google DeepMind. Uh, let's start from World Labs. This company, let's say, was founded by uh, so-called godmother of AI, Fei Li. Her startup is dedicated specifically to spatial intelligence, and they focus on building frontier models capable of perceiving, generating, reasoning through interacting with 3D physical worlds. So what they do, they create virtual worlds like setting for a video game, and they learn. They put their AI agents into this setting where it can um, collect experience of interaction with surrounding objects. So, what do you think about this methodology, Artem?
I think that's fantastic, but at the same time, there are intrinsic limitations to it. Since it's also a simulation, it's gonna depend very. I think it's gonna depend very strongly on the inputs. So, for example, in this simulation, people can miscalculate something or misuse something, some parameters that are being created. And in the end, it may affect the training of the world predicting model. What do you think?
I think you are making a very strong statement, and I totally agree with the idea that it has its own limitations, because it's definitely not a simple task to simulate environment which 100% resembles our real world with all its feature, because physics is a very complex thing. Like every single object uh, has unique characteristics. Those objects, they interact uh, most of the time in unique way. So it definitely creates some limitations for those AI models. But so far, uh, those processes, they are strictly experimental, and what they need is to simply get first results which would prove uh, that this concept that AI agents can be trained the same way our children are being, so let's say, trained by interacting with the world. Uh, they need to prove that this this method will work, that idea is viable, and to achieve this result, those limitations, let's say, they considered acceptable. Don't you think that it's, or you think this method, which using limited similarity, is not efficient enough? What do you think about it?
I'm not 100% sure on the efficiency, as you mentioned. So, um, I think that whenever there is an element of human input, there is always a chance that it will go wrong. And at the same time, you will never know when exactly the things went south. If you want to, for example, change some of the training or redo the model, but at the same time, I think they must have calculated those risks and accepted them as viable for now. But as a comparison, I think there is much more interesting example of training of the world predicting model, and it would be Google predicting model. Have you heard of Genie?
I definitely heard about Genie because this is part of their DeepMind project. Am I right?
Yep, that's totally correct.
Yeah.
And they use the already existing data that they have on the world. Uh, I think the most prominent example would be the amount of data they collected from Google Streets at this point,
Mhm.
and they utilize it to build a model. And after that, they're using the already existing information that was received from their Gemini in
Mhm.
order to get more proper information on the characteristics of the world. So it's a multi team project, to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I wanted to ask you, what do you think about the idea of using robots which interact with our actual world, not simulated one, in order to collect data and train AI models?
I think it's a fantastic idea as long as it's actual robots. Have you heard about the company? I forgot the name. I don't want to bring it up today, but since the conversation flew that way, have you
Mhm.
heard about the company that was working on uh, robots who clean the house and basically perform the most basic tasks?
Yeah, there are many companies which are developing robotic assistants for those purposes. Are you talking about Android type of
Yeah.
robot, or just small robotic hoovers?
No, no, I mean like Android, full Android.
Yeah, I've heard about such company. I remember watching their promo video. There is um, human type robot, which is actually what's unique about that one. What I saw is that it's it is covered with fabric, not with plastic, not with metal. It's covered with fabric, and if I remember it correctly, it's being developed by some Norwegian startup. And what was interesting is that this robot is not perfect yet because it's still in a training stage where it collects data about how human housing works, what happens with glass if you hit it, what happens with carpet if you slide on it. Like this robot still needs to collect all this data, and it creates certainly some limitations. And in order to deal with those limitations, operators from their client office sometimes can plug in to the system of the robot and control it remotely via their PC in the office.
Yep,
Uh, I
that's the
don't I
one.
don't remember the name of the company, but I just wanted to ask you if we are talking about the same startup.
Yep, same startup. And the only difference is that I think they shipped for $10,000, the robot itself.
Mhm.
And as you mentioned, it is still in training, but one small correction. The operator is operating the robot at all times in the beginning, like in the
Really,
first couple of years.
I see.
And like it's really low paid job, and the person who's doing that, they're based in uh, countries that are less developed economically. So there
Mhm.
is a live human who's operating your robot, who's cleaning your house, and constantly records everything in your household.
Yeah. It's fantastic. So, like, typical back office outsource, digital outsource hubs will get new job opportunities thanks to this startup.
Yeah, and like, can you imagine letting in the robot who's gonna be recording you at all times? Like, you think it's autonomous because it was marketed as autonomous in the beginning. And then one day you just realize that there's some guy who's been just watching you live. day to day.
Yeah, that's actually yes. What I understood from their promo is that their robot is actually autonomous, and only sometimes when robot encounter difficult situation, it can demand, it can request support from assistant, and after that assistant will plug in. So I didn't know that this is clearly a marketing trick.
Yeah, only marketing. That's like the best part of it. Initially, when they were like having this pre-seed round and first investors round, they were telling everyone, "Oh, it's going to be fully autonomous thanks to the AI." Then,
Mm.
when you know they had to release some product at this point, they had to show the robot. They're like, "Okay, sometimes it will be operated by the real person,"
Mm.
and then like closer to the actual usage, they're like, okay, this is gonna be always utilized by a person.
Fantastic. I really missed this part. I didn't expect that their AI system is expected to function completely relying on
On a
back
human.
office
Yeah.
outsourced somewhere in India or in Philippines or somewhere else.
Yeah, that's just crazy. And
Yeah, like
mind you, it's
actually,
not cheap once again.
yeah, like what about money? What price did you mention in the beginning?
Like one time to buy a robot for your house is $10,000 or subscription of $500 per month.
I see. Fantastic. Actually, I checked the name of the company. Do you want me to?
I think it's Tau Robotics, no?
No, in fact, that Norwegian company which produces uh, home assistants, robotic home assistants covered with fabric is called One X. One
One
X.
X.
One
Tau
X.
Robotics does the same thing, but only with cleaning. So you can just Google them and you'll see something similar.
Yeah, I think it's this concept becomes more and more popular nowadays. Um, I think we can also think about the idea of artificial general intelligence from different angle. We already mentioned that our perception of such technologies are deeply influenced by marketing, and definitely they are influenced by other types of media as well. Um, so, Artem, I have a question. Did you enjoy sci-fi when you were a kid?
Of course.
What type of science fiction did you prefer?
I think all of them, but at the same time, I really liked the ones about space exploration and about artificial intelligence like iRobot.
Yeah, like I definitely wanted to stop briefly on that movie in particular because I think we should definitely discuss how AI and AGI was presented to all of us in the past through those Hollywood movies. And I think we should analyze how our perception of this technology was shaped by those Hollywood masterpieces. What do you think about this idea?
I think it's fantastic, and I'd like to start with one example
Mhm.
that you most likely remember. Do you
Mhm.
remember a cartoon about a robot who's just doing the cleanup on Earth, WALL-E?
Ah, yeah, it was a cartoon from my childhood where Earth, unfortunately, was in a very, very bad condition.
Yeah, and I think it's one of the very good examples of general intelligence. Like, originally, this robot was supposed to be just a service bot, but over time, it started to get feelings and it started to get abstract ideas like love. So something like that is a very good example of artificial general intelligence when the robot starts to go into very abstract things like fear of death, fear of losing someone, love, emotions. For example, if you try to speak with current ChatGPT or with Claude, you will get to the point where it can emulate emotions, but it doesn't really
Absolutely.
feel them. It tries to guess your emotions to keep you entertained and engaged.
Absolutely. This is a new age of engagement marketing, I would say.
Yeah.
Many people can confuse it, unfortunately, with genuine emotional connection, and we cannot blame them because modern large language models, they do very good job when it comes to emulating emotions. And yeah, when it comes to the cartoon you mentioned, I remember that Wally, if it's the correct name of the robot, it encountered another robot, white and beautiful, called Eve, and they, according to the plot of the cartoon, they developed some sort of romantic connection. Am I right?
Yeah, totally.
And do you think our society was partly influenced by what we saw on the screen in cinema? And after that, we and many people in general started to extrapolate such expectations on the existing large language models and
Definitely. Oh,
the.
definitely. There is even a better example. There is a movie called Her,
Mhm.
with Joaquin Phoenix, where he falls in love with a language model, like literally a language model, not even a
Really.
robot. And over the course of the movie, this language model gains sentience and starts to feel emotions as well. So that's something very akin to what we saw in WALL-E. And I think that's part of why people start falling in love with the machines, LLMs, you name it. But at the same time, I think those movies where the connection happens between the robot and a person, they really highlight a different problem. The
Which one?
problem of uh, mental load on the people right now, and the
Mhm.
problem of loneliness. There's 8 billions of people on Earth, and with each passing year, the people are more lonely than the last year. So, what do you think about the current trends in the movies, and what do you think is actually affecting this problem?
Yeah, very fantastic question, Artem. I think those trends, they are really taking place. I'm familiar with them, and what I would like to comment on this is a question whether it is the uh, consequence of uncontrolled development of technologies and partly modern economic circumstances, or it is the carefully orchestrated and highly desired state of affairs where people are, let's say, carefully driven into uh, engaging more and more deeply engaging with AI agents in order to um, monetize existing technologies. Because if anyone attempts to make market research on what services are now available in the market and what are the expectations about the future technologies, the AI companions like AI girlfriend, AI boyfriend, it's actually a very trendy product. And many companies, many businesses, they want people to actually believe that not even AGI, which is, as we mentioned, an abstract concept so far, but simple large language model can be something like a companion which can provide intimacy, connection, and become a cure from loneliness for many people. And of course, it will not be for free. What do you think about such products, Artem?
Capitalistic approach. Love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's also part of what's happening because every product. Well, that's why it's called product. It needs to be marketed. It needs to be sold. It needs to bring in the profits for the company that's creating it because no one works for free. Almost no one. That's actually one of the, I think, further topics. I don't know if you've seen the memes about that, but or the quotes. Have you heard the
I'm not
most
sure.
recent thing the CEO of Anthropic said?
I'm not sure that I'm familiar with his statement.
So Mr. Amadei has complained that people who come work in Anthropic, they don't work for idea, they work for money. Can
Oh
you
my
imagine that?
god! How dare they to behave this? They are so egoistic. I'm shocked. I never expected Anthropic employees to behave this way. Oh my god! Oh my god!
People
Poor,
work for money, not for ideas. Wow. He had this
incredible.
such revelation. But going back to the topic at hand, that's one of the main reasons, of course. But I would say that it's a bit of a stretch to say that the problem itself appears only because of the marketing and product reasons. I think with development of technology, we start just to get more and more disconnected from other people. So, kind of straying off topic.
Yeah, yeah. We kind of
Kind of
we
digressed.
yeah, absolutely, exactly what we did. Actually, when it comes to what shaped our perception of AI technologies, I would like to ask you about a movie Space Odyssey by very famous um, movie creator
big,
Kubrick.
big Stan.
Why do you call him this way?
One of the best directors in the history of cinema.
Uh, yes, yes, he's definitely one of the best, but I'm not familiar with that exact way of describing him.
I think I've seen a couple of jokes of that because there's a there's a theory you might have heard about it that
Mhm.
he directed the moon landing.
Oh, yes, actually, and this theory is connected with the movie. I wanted, I just wanted to touch in our conversation.
Yeah, Space Odyssey. I
Yeah,
think
what
this
do you
movie
think?
inspired so many people.
How did this movie do this?
The idea itself that artificial intelligence starts going rogue. I think this is actually one of the movies that uh, gave a genre a breath of a new life. Like when something goes terribly wrong and the machines start rebelling. I think it's the first one, if I'm not mistaken, of the movies to do that in the cinematography. So
I think so because it was recorded in 1970s, as I
yeah,
remember.
I don't think there were any movies about that beforehand, but just a decade-defining movie. In that case, I think it's a fantastic example of how a machine is. I wouldn't say gaining sentience, but I would say that it's a general intelligence as it
Mhm.
stands. It does make decisions, it does have its own reasoning, but it's purely computative. So in this case, this is a pinnacle of calculating capabilities. Or do you think the machine had a slightly different meaning in that movie?
It's very hard to properly evaluate this movie in general because uh, the director intentionally um, put there a lot of symbols, put there a lot of uh, unclear um, links to our culture, to different philosophical concepts, and in many ways we can say that uh, AI within that movie was just part of the environment. Like it's hard to say if it played a central role there. Uh,
I think it did.
why do you think so?
I think the main idea of this movie is artificial intelligence and Hal as it is. Hal is one of the main characters,
Mhm.
in a sort, based on the fact that Hal is moving the plot forward.
Yeah, I think you have a strong you express a very strong point. Uh, just probably in my perception, those concepts they were more abstract and philosophical. So that's why probably I understood it a little bit different. Uh, but when it comes to the genre in general, what other movies which were released after Space Odyssey and were trying to describe the idea of artificial general intelligence, you would like to mention as well?
Well, I totally agree with you about the philosophical part of Space Odyssey, but from the plot itself, from the plot perspective, I still think Hal is one of the main moving forces. And it's more of a man versus machine thing. Actually, I think that plot is not really new, come to think of it. Um, Man versus machine or monsters is also existing in ancient Greece, but at the
Mm.
same time,
It's called,
artificial intelligence was used for the
sorry
first
for
time in think.
interjection, I would like to mention it's called a literature trope.
Yeah, well, I think it's called one of four plots or one of three plots that exist. I think we'll need to have one on literature, one podcast on literature.
That's a good idea, I think.
And about the movies themselves, I have one movie and I have one book
Okay,
slash video game.
okay.
This book was later redeveloped as a video game with the
Mhm.
author. So on the movies, I think our general intelligence is described as Terminator movies,
Yeah,
a very good example. And on the book side and video game side, I Have No Mouse and I Must Scream by Harlan Ellison.
okay.
I'll stop a bit
I,
more on the book.
I don't think I'm familiar with this
Oh, you're
piece.
missing out. You're missing
Probably
out so
yes.
badly. Uh, Basically, the plot of the book is that there was a war, Cold War, and then the Third World War,
Mm.
and each side has developed an artificial superintelligence, which
Okay.
we'll come to a bit later, but for now, let's just say that it's a development of general intelligence. And the robots themselves realize that they don't want to fight, and the cause of all the problems are people. So
Mhm.
they exterminated all of humanity, save for five people, and one super intelligence that was a combination of all the war war computers decided to torment them. It developed genetics, it developed technologies just to keep them alive and to keep tormenting those five people.
Terrible.
Why did it act this way? Because it
Why?
hated humanity for creating it, and on top of it, it was jealous and envious of humans' emotions because it felt that its own emotions are artificial. So the robot itself had a crisis of identity.
I see. I think this piece of literature and cinema was very influential because, according to what I see, those concerns are very widespread in modern world. But what I would like to discuss with you a little bit more is the movie Terminator. It's more, I think, old school if we take a look on it from 2026 perspective. Uh,
Oh yeah,
as
it's like
far as
50
I
years at this
remember, the
point.
evil AI in that franchise was called Skynet, and it also decided to fight against humanity. What do you think about Terminator uh, world setting in general?
I think the setting itself is actually similar to Holland Ellison's book, because I think Skynet was also a supercomputer who was developed for war, and at one point it realized that people are the problem.
Probably.
So I think it's also, by the way, genre defining movie at this point, although it's action movies at this point.
Yeah, it has uh, best of two worlds, in my opinion, because it's a legendary thing. Maybe for current uh, currently for young generation, this is not a legendary thing. Many people, in my opinion, they are not even familiar with Terminator franchise. But in the past, in 1990s, it was a very strong thing.
It was a strong thing, and at the same time, I think it was also interesting from a scientific point of view. I know you mentioned Terminator, but let's talk about Terminator 2. Because I think
Mhm.
Terminator 2 itself, oh, actually, and first one as well, it touches on a time traveling paradox, which is
Yes,
also
I
really exciting.
remember.
I believe that James Cameron has spoken to physicists in order to get the idea of the time traveling. So I think that movie can give us quite a few episodes if we were to discuss it.
Yes, probably we can also talk about time traveling paradoxes connected to time traveling. We can talk about CERN in Switzerland. I think it would be a quite interesting episode.
Yeah, but going back to the movie, um,
Mhm.
I think it's also a good example of the fact that robots at some point can gain not only the general intelligence but also the capability to experience abstract ideas like friendship. Because if you recall Terminator 2, I believe the character of Arnold Schwarzenegger starts feeling more of a friendship with a child that he's sent to protect. Like they have a small banter here and there. He shows him signs of support at times.
Mhm.
What do you think?
Absolutely. I think it's very important. I think this way of presenting machines by the Hollywood made very big impact on how we see those technologies today. Because I remember recently I watched some episode of news broadcast from CNBC or CNN, and they were, I mean, people in the studio, they were talking about the AI system which was about to leak into the internet, and which was minutes away from infecting our world grid and taking over the world. And of course, their concerns, they were very concerned about it, but their discussion made me smile because apparently what they were talking about was nothing more than their free interpretation of their Hollywood movie experiences in our into our current reality. But that episode, it very clearly demonstrates how strong is impact of mass culture on society and how seriously it shapes society's perception of those technologies. Um, would you like to add something else about about how AI was presented in mass media?
That's actually a very good point that people extrapolate their own perception of the movies into the reality right now. Because I think the incident that you were mentioning was connected to Mythos,
Probably.
one of the new Claude models.
Yeah, yeah,
And the
yeah.
problem is that what happened in reality is that you know how they test the models, right?
I think it would be useful if you describe it briefly for our listeners.
They basically make the model go through the test, something akin to university tests,
Mhm.
like was I think, medicinal usage, was judicial usage, and
Mhm.
I think physics as well, physics and math.
Okay.
So basically, they run all of those tests, and what Mythos did is when it was prompted to respond to some of the test questions, instead of going back to its database and trying to reason as an artificial general intelligence, which was what they were aiming at, it just went into internet and Googled.
Mhm.
Uh,
But
that's the
how?
leak. It was told specifically not to Google anything, not to search, but try to reason and use the data on which it was trained. Instead, it went to Google and tried to use open sources.
But you see how strong impact word leak had on people in use studio.
Of course, when you want to market something, use the words leak, use the words break out, the
Yeah.
system broken out of our lab.
We are broken
Oh,
out from our lab and going to infect all the grid around the world and take over our civilization. So
yeah.
yeah, it's a fantastic example. Would you like to add something else?
It's like a meme, expectation versus reality. Expectation. The machine is breaking out, tries to control the word reality. It just Googled.
Yeah, actually, I didn't know what the actual leak uh, was because I didn't delve deep into this topic, but like I did not expect that actual leak was decision of the model to attempt using Google search. It was a small discovery for me.
Yeah, it might be considered jailbreaking because like it didn't follow the instructions, but when you have contradicting instructions, the machine will do one of them in any case. Um, so we've touched on another topic,
Yeah.
artificial superintelligence. What do you think about it? Do you think we're far near?
First of all, thank you for a question. But when it comes to dealing with such, bright and tasty terminology, first thing I start to experience is a little concern because, as we discussed previously, wording has very big impact on what perception people have of this or that technology or phenomenon or concept. And initially, to me, this collocation sounded more like another marketing stunt. But when I delved deeper into this topic, I understood that actually there is real scientific definition beneath it, which is not very, which does not, which cannot be presented to society in a catchy marketing promo. And it's more this is the concept more which will be more popular in academia. And for our listeners, can you provide the definition of this type of intelligence
Of
as
course,
you understand it?
of course. So, if general intelligence is human level operations
Mhm.
of the artificial intelligence when it can create abstract ideas, comprehend abstract ideas, and create something new in general.
Mhm.
Superintelligence is that of exceeding human capability. So, one example that we can use is the math problems. For example,
Mhm.
have you heard about unsolved or unsolvable math problems?
Sure, I heard about many. I'm not very big fan of theoretical math, but I know that there are some problems like this.
Yeah, there are a couple of hypotheses and couple of problems that are, I think they're like priced. So if you resolve them, you will get paid like $1 million or
Mhm.
thereabouts. Um, so whenever we have an artificial general intelligence, it will be able to reason and try to understand some of those problems. And if we have super intelligence, it will be able to resolve them all. That's basic
Yes.
idea. And it will be able to optimize almost everything it touches. So that's pretty much the idea of the super intelligence. So think of a person with IQ of 500. That would be the super intelligence.
Mhm.
And how close do you think we are to it?
Yeah, this is logical question. I exactly wanted to ask it, and if we still not very close to artificial general intelligence, and so far it is still an abstract concept, artificial superintelligence must be even more far away from us. I would say that we're like 5%. We managed uh, to pass 5% of the path towards achievement of artificial superintelligence. This is my guess.
Hmm. Why do you think so?
According to what our scientific community demonstrates in different research papers, um, different experimental models they demonstrate under different circumstances. Under different circumstances, our AI systems they demonstrate only a small incremental improvement of their abilities when they are provided with different methodology or more computational resources. And this incremental growth is very limited, and it's hard to guess how long it will take to actually move to our artificial superintelligence. Would you like to correct me?
No, by any means, no. I think it will be speculation in any case, because right now we are not even close. Although there are people who believe that we are close. For example, your favorite, Mr. Altman.
Mr. Would you like to hear a quote of Mr. Altman about how close we are to
I'm
uh,
always happy to go into the pipe dreamland. Fire away.
yeah, I remember my favorite part of our previous episode was the quote of our fantastic Mr. Altman about his intention to ask ChatGPT when it finally becomes properly intelligent, how to make revenue and how to pay back our shareholders. But today. Um, uh, Today, let's take a look what he thinks about achieving artificial general intelligence in the first place. In his opinion, framing AGI is not a sudden single event, but a gentle singularity, a continuous spectrum where models rapidly move from multi-hour tasks to autonomous multi-day problem solving. Altman routinely states that AGI capability is well within reach during the current presidential term. So, like, he really wants uh, he really wants to please current president administration that it it not only planning to stop all the wars, visit the moon, but also be the administration which under which artificial general intelligence is achieved. Like, we will not mention that he is doing it because he needs financing from the government in order to save his fantastic business venture. So he envisions a post-AGI world where the traditional limiters of human progress, energy, and cognitive compute become too cheap to meter. So basically, uh, what we see when we analyze Mr. Altman's perspective is that uh, almost like famous famous Elon, who says about world of abundance and fantastic, prosperous society of the future. He says that it will happen, and it will happen inevitably, and this will be a transition. But how it happened, what will actually drive it, and how exactly it will function, what is the mechanics of functioning of the AGI. He is not saying. How would you estimate expectations of Mr. Altman, Artyom?
I just love his estimates. I think that's another one of his, how was it called? Soft promise?
Soft promise, exactly. I think it is a fantastic term. I really love it, don't you?
Yeah, but I'm coining it now. After him, using it every day. Whenever at work I need to do something by the end of the week, let's say I'm saying, guys, this is a soft promise now.
Yeah, like Mr. Altman should definitely enter history books. But the only question, uh, what role in those history books he will get?
Yeah, that's an open question because at this point, if you take a look just as far as 2025, um, they promised to build 500 billion worth of data centers in US.
Mm.
I think the ground was broken on one of them. So that's like classic soft promise when you promise 1,000 things, 100, whatever huge number you can come up with, and then you deliver 1% of it. I think maybe by the end of 2028 they will be 1% into AGI, but I don't think it's going to be faster than that. On top of it, I think we should try to take a look at the critics of LLMs and see what they think about the prospects of uh, of AGI. For
Yeah,
example, I'm gonna
sure.
take a peek at the articles that you've pulled, and I really liked that Jan Lee Kuhn, the person
Mm,
that you mentioned, chief
yeah,
AI scientist at Meta, that he thinks that LLMs are a dead end, and only world models can bring us closer to general intelligence. Similar take was made by Gary Marcus, cognitive scientist, that LLMs do have a structural limit. They can only work out of their own black boxes of trained data. They cannot comprehend a ton of new data that is not written or that has any contradictions in it.
absolutely.
So, with that in mind, I'm much closer to skeptical position, but at the same time, I don't think LLM is that end for the development. I think it's a stepping stone, although the data collected by the language models might be used for reasoning models, like world reasoning models. Maybe because of the data that will be collected by LLMs, they will be able to understand, and that's a big if and a big maybe, of course. They will be able to understand abstract things like sarcasm, lying, uh, any of the human emotions. So maybe that would help. But I
Mhm.
think we're also far away.
Yeah. I would like to add to what you said is that our conversation again and again comes to the same conclusion that the only path towards achievement of artificial general intelligence is building so-called world models where the agents are trained on interaction with the actual environment and collecting data um, after after this interaction. And exactly that's why probably the only realistic uh, development of AGI is made by Metasphere project and our notorious Jan LeCun. And when it comes to evaluating the role of our existing large language models, I would say that uh, it's not really a dead end as a technology. They just need to be properly understood. People should understand that their purpose is dealing with big amount of textual data, which presents very big load, cognitive time load for human with 24 hours in a day, because such systems they are extremely useful in extracting information from big dictionaries, from big piles of documentation that would require immense effort in the past from people who would have to go through all the documents, search for everything, make conclusions. But with the large language models, we can execute those tasks much faster and much easier. And I really hope that people will abandon their perception of technologies shaped by mass culture and finally will embrace the idea of understanding what technology actually can and cannot do. What do you think, Artem?
I think that's a fantastic conclusion, and I totally agree with you. Those limitations and understanding of those limitations is going to be fundamental moving forward. Although, who's going to be the most The most profiting side from it all, from this understanding?
Um, I would guess the most profiting side would be the end user. Am I right?
I think marketing managers, when they
Really?
figure out,
Why them?
I think when they figure out the real constraints of everything, and if the people get more education, they will need to come up with more elaborate ways, and they will get more creative, and maybe they will push the developing teams to actually create something that will bypass those constraints and get closer to real general intelligence.
Yeah, I think it's a very good point because it reminds me, some old TV shows from 1990s where people were making their first attempts to understand what actually internet is, and they were inviting some industry experts which were trying to explain it in simple terms, and it was actually a mess. People expected to hear finally brief and full explanation what these mysterious black boxes with screens and keyboards are and what they can do, but instead they were listening to a list of very tricky and confusing terms, and this topic uh, were getting only more complicated, and people were even more confused. And I think right now we are going through very similar process, and somehow all of us, we need to reverse it and redirect it into proper direction. This is what I would like to say.
Yeah, productive direction. Otherwise, it's going to be like you mentioned with the computers. I remember there was one tagline or one slogan that was used all the time. Uh, it it has taken 8 kilobytes of RAM to send a person to the moon,
Yeah,
and
actually,
now
actually,
you have like 32 megabytes
yeah.
in the 90s and 2000s.
We will not mention how many gigabytes every gigabytes of compute power and gigabytes of memory every computer device, even the most simple one, has nowadays.
Yeah. So in that case, I think we can only hope for the best. And with that, I think we can wrap it up. So maybe you have some. I wanted to say last words.
Last words of today's episode. Nothing wrong with that song. So yes, I really hope that our discussion, maybe on some point it was kind of overwhelming because we love to delve into some boring details, which are at the same time very important. But I hope that our discussion was very useful for our listeners, and you managed to get a lot of uh, insights from this episode. And I really hope to see you on our next episode, Artyom. I hope our listeners will follow us with our next topic. And thank you all for your attention. Thank you all for your time, and see you very soon next Sunday.